is up, people?
Yeah. Welcome to another episode of the Retro Funhouse, the Funhouse podcast. And this is episode, I forgot what number it is, but it's another episode, so there you go. This is Yankee's first
My first
podcast?
time appearing. Yeah, my first time appearing on the podcast.
You've seen him on the videos when we're game hunting and conventions and all that, but the podcast is a lot different. It's unedited, so what you see is what you get, and what we do is what you get. So there you go. We're going to be talking about some fun things today. We're going to talk about a couple of Yankees' favorite PS4 games, and maybe some of the ones that he's not so thrilled with or hasn't been too excited with. But also we're going to talk about some of the interesting things that people do outside of gaming that are criminal. So yeah, there you go. We're going to have a little fun. This is 100% family-friendly fun. It's all clean. That's what we do. That's how we do it. We're going to have fun. And we're going to talk about a few other things as we go. So here we go. Let's go.
You go first.
All right. Okay. So, to start off, we're going to start off with the wacky story of the month. I guess the month. This apparently happened on the 31st of May. So this was last month. You probably heard about this. There was a man apparently who got arrested for, robbing a Dollar General in the parking lot or something like that with a Nintendo Zapper gun, the Duck Hunt gun.
That's gun.
He was a 25-year-old male. We're not going to give much for that, but just the fact that this is a wacky, silly news, sorry, that is not really gaming related, but it's got gaming stuff involved with it. So, how would you not know that the guy had a
Nintendo Zapper?
Yeah, Zapper. I mean, you would, especially if you had the red Zapper. We have both Zappers, but yeah, they did catch the guy. So I don't know. Maybe maybe he's just down on his luck. But the fact that you get arrested, or you even attempt to rob a place with a Nintendo Light Zapper gun. I would have at least tried to use the Sega Master System.
Yeah, the Sega one or the Super Nintendo.
Yeah, at least it's more
dark. It looks more real.
Or, I mean, you might as well have went in there with a Nerf gun. And, I don't know. But I wouldn't have done it anyways if it's not something you'd want to do.
It does eat up to time in prison. So
it was not a good thing that happened, but it was an interestingly funny thing, kind of revolving somewhat around gaming with a Zapper being used in an attempted robbery. So that was the opening funny thing that we read recently, and it was something I wanted to make sure I read deep into. Some other fun things. One of the things we did on our YouTube channel was when we were starting the YouTube channel, or when we were starting the podcast channel, I put out a poll of what would you like us to talk more, a little bit more about as we go, and I think we put on there gaming, retro movies, toys, comics, stuff like that, and but what it was, 60% of the people that voted on it on YouTube put for retro movies, which was one of the things, and that's one of the things I really enjoy. So maybe we'll throw in a few retro movie talk here, some of our fun things, maybe some funny quotes or some remakes that are coming out, what have you. But before we get into that, Yankee's got a few of the PS4 games that he likes and dislikes, and he's going to just kind of run us through some of his likes really quick.
So I'll run us through a couple of my favorite PS4 games real quick. So I ranked these 1 through 5. I'm going to give you guys details of what are my favorite parts, what parts I kind of wish they did a little more better. So we're going to start off with the Uncharted series, going from the first one all the way to the last one, which was the 5th one, called Uncharted: The Last Resort. So my favorite thing about the Uncharted games is that they're all based on adventure, where you have to solve certain puzzles to get past certain obstacles. My most favorite one is Uncharted 3 or Uncharted 4, because Uncharted 3 takes place in a desert time land once you find out more of the history of what happens, and Uncharted 4 talks about the reunion of Nathan Drake's brother coming out of prison even though he thought he was killed. And my second one is going to a horror game everyone should know by now. It is called Resident Evil Village. It is the latest installment that I still personally love. Resident Evil Village takes place after the events of Resident Evil 7 with the main character, Ethan. So he's one of my personal favorite characters besides Leon. I really love him. And my number 3rd one will go to not only one of my personal favorites, but a game I put in a lot of time and effort into. It will be Elden Ring. It won Game of the Year, and it's one of my personal favorites because the directors that made the game, every single game that they made coming from Dark Souls, which is another amazing series, goes off of how difficult the game could be to the bosses to how fun it could be. The only thing I kind of had an issue with was just the obstacles, just because they don't give you a lot of certain adjustments to do with it. But coming in my number 4 is a new recent sport I've been watching and been playing. It is called UFC 4. And me and my one of my best friends, his name's Bodie, he got me into UFC, and we started playing it a lot. And I got addicted to it really quick because it's really fun. It's like boxing, but it's more, you add more like wrestling and submissions and stuff like that. And it's one of my personal favorites to play. And my last, but certainly my favorite of all, Watch Dogs 2. The Watch Dogs series has always been one of my personal favorites. I've kind of been on edge with the third one. It was the last one. But Watch Dogs 2 has always held something into my heart with me wanting to play the game a lot more, just because the entire game is about a hacker that wants to give people their freedom of what they use on the internet. So now we're going on my list of the top 5 games that I don't like or I never got into. And the first one is part 2 of The Last of Us. Now, if you all remember from the first one, it is an amazing game. They remastered it again recently. But The Last of Us Part 2 is not one of my personal favorites anymore. I didn't get into it that much because the story just wasn't good as the first one, and the characters, they kind of went too much towards a bunch of interesting stories with a bunch of characters. And my second one is the Resident Evil 4 remake for the PS4. It's just the same thing as the Nintendo GameCube version, which I kind of felt a little disappointed in. So if you really want a good Resident Evil game to play, either play the original or play the remake that just came out on the PS5. My third one goes to Skate XL. It's just another version of all the other past Skate games like Skate 3 or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. And number 4 will go to Assassin's Creed 3. My personal favorite Assassin's Creed is Assassin's Creed 2 and Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Assassin's Creed 3 never caught my interest, but I have played it once or twice. And last, the game that I don't really ever want to play anymore is Mafia Remastered. The game is buggy. It doesn't have any story elements anymore. The original cast that was in the original Mafia games are not in there now. And it kind of disappoints me because I was really hyped for this game. But the hype died down once it got out. Honorable mentions for me will probably go to Cyberpunk 2077, which is a game that I played it, and it was really buggy, but now it's actually got into my top 20 of at least games that got better now. So that is my list of games that I play and I don't play. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good. So that was from the PS4 as well. So I was, as he was talking through that, I was just now noticing that an article was put out from Global News Wire based on Atari, which Atari is one of the original gaming companies that come out. I mean, Atari is what kicked it off for everyone, for a lot of people.
Yep.
If you grew up back in the late 70s, what have you. But some of the news that's coming out of it is, as of today, from what at least one reading it's saying today, Atari, one of the world's most iconic consumer brands and interactive entertainment producers, announced that arcade platforming action is returning to its roots, unveiling today an Atari 2600 version. This is crazy. We have a 2600 Junior, and this is coming out that a 2600 version of the recently revealed adventure platformer Mr. Run and Jump will open for pre-order on July 31st of this year. This is the official release marks a significant milestone in retro history. The first 2600 cartridge launch for the new Atari title since 1990.
Wow.
So that's really crazy. So basically what's happened is Atari's releasing a 2600 version of Mr. Run and Jump, the first new Atari game on a 2600 cartridge in 32 years. Wow. That is crazy, but it's cool to see. Retro gaming is come from where it was to what it is now, and it's really popular. It's exploding. Anything and everything that's retro is huge right now. And the fact that Atari is pumping out a 2600 game after 32 years, a cartridge game at that, because everything's seeming to go between disc, and now it's starting to make its way towards more digital download, which for me, I'm not a fan of digital download. I have downloaded a few games on Switch that were either free or what have you. But I prefer, and I talked about this in the last podcast, that I prefer to have physical copy. I want to own it, put it on my shelf, be able to look at the artwork and the cover, read a little bit on the back.
Yep.
And you don't really get that with physical. But the fact that Atari is, in my opinion, they're trying to make a comeback. There's been news about, and I talked about this a little bit in the podcast previously when it was just me. Atari is buying up developers for new gaming stuff. I think they got the Bugsby. They bought the rights to that. Some other things they're trying to do, but hats off to Atari. I mean, I would definitely buy an Atari console. I think we would buy an Atari console. My wife would probably say, yeah, let's get an Atari console if they came out with a new one. Or maybe just upgraded the games for the Atari. I think that'd be really cool. We have the 2600, and 2600, depending on the game, and I said this before in the podcast, depending on the game, depends on how long you'll play it. I mean, I played Spider-Man, and all you're doing is climbing up a wall, and
Yeah.
it's interesting for its time, but it's a 5-minute game, if that. But there's other games on the Atari that are just fun and interesting to play. The Star Wars Empire Strikes Back is one that I go to consistently. It's one of my favorite games for the 2600. But that was a really interesting thing to read. I'm looking at pictures of what it will look. I mean, it looks like, from what I can tell, it looks like it's going to be like an Atari 2600 game. You know, the box art, the cartridge, everything. And didn't really see if it's showing. I would imagine you could play on 2600. I would guess. I mean, I hope so. I mean, why would you not? But that's something I'm looking forward to. Also, if you have bought the Atari VCS home video game console, which was produced by Atari, I've seen these in GameStop, and from what I've heard or been told, they're not the best to have. I don't know. I don't have one. I've never played one, so I don't really know. But that was apparently the most recent one, which came out, I think, a year or 2 or 3, somewhere around there. But
Yeah.
I didn't pay much mind to it. So that's just interesting to me. Some other gaming news for myself. I recently beat, on the Nintendo Switch, the Untitled Goose Game, which is my wife, Heidi's. She thinks that's an interesting game as well. If you've never played it, you can look it up. You can check it out. It's not a hard game to play. It's really fun. It's simple. It has like 5 stages, maybe more, than it has bonus stages you do. But you're a goose. You go on the loose. There you go. Basically what it is. It's a lot of fun. It's a simple game. I like the platform of it. I enjoyed playing it. It has it on the PS4 as well. It's on there. We don't have it on the PS4, but I enjoyed the Switch version of it. It took me maybe a week because I was kind of playing in spurts. Maybe 2 weeks, but it's a fun game. You're a goose. You go on the loose. It's fun. It's a fun game. Great game.
And on today's news for retro movies and modern movies for today, I recently seen 2 new movies that came out. The Cross the Spider-Man movie and the new Transformers film.
Yeah, and without giving anything away.
Without giving anything away.
What did you think? Was it good?
So the Spider-Man movie, it's really good, but if you have seen it, you would know what I mean by the ending. The ending is it's kind of got a lot of people a little angry, but the new Transformers film, I think it was pretty good, and it was amazing. They brought back certain characters, and they introduced some new characters.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wanted to go see some new movies in the movie theater, I would recommend those 2 at the moment. And we have seen the new Super Mario movie.
Mm-hmm.
That is a very good movie. I love everything about it. I think it was really interesting to see what they could do with Mario, even if you have played the Mario games, all they're really about is simply just trying to save Princess Peach.
Mm-hmm. And it makes you wonder, you have a Mario, and I've talked about this a few podcasts before, is we could see a, video gaming universe. You could see a Nintendo-verse, which I've seen many articles talk about. Nintendo-verse. You could see a Smash Bros. Movie. You could see a Zelda movie, a Metroid movie. I mean, there's a lot of games that have great themes and stories that you can easily make a movie. You can connect all these movies together. I think that'd be really great.
That would.
PlayStation has already done that with games like Resident Evil,
Uncharted, Resident Evil, Silent Hill,
Twisted Metal's got a show coming out on Peacock. The Last of Us show that's come out. I mean, you see where people are intrigued. And what's funny is, one thing I read when The Last of Us show came out, which is not a game I play. I don't do the horror games, but when it did come out, people that were watching the show never actually played, not all of them, but a lot of the people that watched the show never actually played the game. And that made the game more popular, and people were willing to pay a little more to buy it, even if it was used or what have you. And I thought that was interesting. because I looked up after the show was running about halfway through, and the pricing for reselling of The Last of Us, the
It's
first
gone
one
up.
and the second one has gone up. It's almost to a point where it's like buying it new almost. But I thought that was interesting. People were watching the show and like, well, I never played the game. I never played the game. And apparently the game and the show were pretty close, similar to, or right on to what the game was. So that's pretty cool. They kind of kept it to its roots. But
And on other retro news, they're making another Ghostbusters film.
Ghostbusters, yep.
They're bringing back some of the old cast. If you have already watched the new Ghostbusters
Mhm.
Afterlife, they are bringing back the cast and the new cast for another rerun movie, which I am ready to see because me and my dad and everyone in this household is a big fan of Ghostbusters.
Yep. It's going to be Ghostbusters Afterlife Firehouse, I think they're calling it. And they're still not sure if Bill Murray will be in it or not. He might play a small role. I don't think Sigourney Weaver might or might not be in it, but she wasn't really in the other one either. But for sure they're saying Dan Aykroyd, who played Ray Stantz, he'll be in it. And Winston Zedmore, who was Ernie Hudson,
Yeah.
he'll be in it. And of course the cast from
This
the
year.
most recent third movie, you could say, is in that. So that's really intriguing. They've already released, if you've seen it, they released a picture of the logo for the Ghostbusters, just to kind of give you a teaser for it. And it looks like the logo of the Ghostbusters is frozen, so it kind of makes you wonder what's this new movie about? What could it be about? It's slated to come out in December of this year. Apparently, it's still filming, so they're saying if it got pushed back, which I hope it doesn't. I think at this Christmas holiday time would be a great time for a good Ghostbuster movie to come out because it's a lot of fun. It's got the quirkiness. It's silly. It's just fun.
Yeah.
And but if not, it would be pushed back to 2024 in spring, apparently, if they don't finish on time. Hopefully they finish it on time for Christmas time. So we'll see what goes on with the new Ghostbuster movie as well. So it's a lot of fun.
And if you have not seen recently too, they are now releasing another Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And it's supposed to go based off just the normal, what they usually do. Bebop and Rocksteady will be in the movie too.
Mhm.
And apparently this one's supposed to be the kids' version of them, which I'm kind of excited to see it. I'm kind of hyped. And for DC lovers, they are making Blue Beetle. If you don't know who Blue Beetle is, he's a little... There's not a lot of information that we
There's
have
a
on
Blue
him.
Beetle.
Yeah. But it's I've heard it's really going to be a good movie, so if you want to go check out the Blue Beetle or the Ninja Turtles film that's coming out, then yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, one last thing I think we were going to talk about for this podcast is, and this is something I actually was looking into for quite a while. It's something I wanted to do on the podcast was, so I've always been intrigued with what are some of the rarest or just, when it comes to the Game Boy, some of the games that are really sought after with Game Boy. And
Yeah.
I kind of looked at, did a little research on it. And what's interesting is I found an article on 14 of the most highly sought after Game Boy games. And one of them here is, at 14, was the King James Bible for the Game Boy, which was interesting. I didn't know they did that, but apparently they did. If you had the game only, it goes for about 180.
Yeah.
80, this is just what I'm reading.
We're not for sure.
If it was complete in box, it'd go for about 340.
Wow.
So that's pretty interesting with that.
Basically just a Bible on your Game Boy if you wanted to bring a Bible on the road.
Yeah. And then
Number 13 on the list, as we're looking at it, is Castlevania 2 Belmont's Revenge. So, that's interesting. The game only, so if you just only had the game, would be $68, which
Mhm.
just alone, that's a lot of money. But complete in box, wow, that is a lot of money. We're looking at, if you had everything, that would be $500
Mhm.
right there. Which, the Castlevania series is really good. It started on the NES with the first one, and then it created this entire series, which I think is amazing. So yeah, Castlevania 2, complete in box,
Mhm.
is $500.
yeah, I remember playing the original Castlevania 1, 2, and 3 on the NES as a kid with friends, and man, that's still a hard game to this day. That's a great game, great series, but it is a really hard game. For me, at least, it's a hard game. I don't know anybody that's ever beaten it, but I've seen people on videos that have
We've
beaten
seen
it. But,
people online that's beaten it.
number 12 is Hammer & Harry Ghost Building Company.
Or PAL for short.
That's on the PAL, the PLA. That's the Japanese version, of course. For the game only, it goes for $150. I could not see myself paying $150, and if I did, I'd have to
Somehow be able
really
to
have the money to really
just
splurge.
buy that.
That would be insane. But complete in box would go for $560. So there you go.
Wow.
So if I could find it complete in box at a yard sale or something like that, that'd be great. Make a little profit, pay some bills on. But I've never heard of Hammer and Harry Ghost Building Company. Actually, it's kind of interesting because a lot of the Japanese release games are
A lot more expensive. And
interesting. Apparently, it is a fairly typical strolling brawler. But yeah, that's just an interesting way of phrasing it. But it's a Japanese version, and we do have Famicom and Super Famicom with a few games, and to this day, I still have not hooked it up.
yeah,
And I bought all these games. I know. If you're telling me in the comments, what's your deal? What's your problem? I got a life. I mean, I got family, I got kids. I got a lot of games I try to squeeze in and play. But the Famicom is one I bought because I've never played one. But my wife lived in Japan for a couple of years, and I think she would be able to translate and enjoy the game.
Yeah.
Or we could figure it out.
Yeah.
It'd be a lot of Googling. Google, what's this?
Figure it out.
But also after that was number 12 was the Hammer and Harry. I'm gonna have to see if I can find that one day.
And coming on the list for number 11 is Trip World.
It's another Japanese release game.
Yep. For game only, it is $213, which that right there will probably cost us the second house mortgage. And coming in for the full game, it will probably...
It would be a lot.
Yeah.
Let me see if I can find
That will probably cost us about one of my cars.
Well, his cars, because he doesn't have a car.
Yeah. It would probably cost us a lot of money.
So
Wow.
complete in box, it's what?
Complete in
There it
box
is.
is over $615.
That's
that
not
right
bad.
there is not bad, but that's
Not
still
good either.
expensive.
You gotta have money for that.
So this game was developed by Sunsoft in 1992, and it's a platformer that didn't quite take off despite its charm and satisfying gaming. It also lacks the North America games. That basically means that this wasn't really released in North America because it wasn't such a big hype game. There's a lot of Japan games for the NES that are also still there. One of them is a Transformers game. I really want to get it because it's actually pretty fun.
And what's funny is we're looking at a picture of Trip World. He looks like a Japanese version
Of an egg.
of an egg or Kirby.
Ooh.
Could be Kirby.
I would-
Interesting.
It does look like Kirby on the
But it's funny too because you read a little bit more on it, and it's showing he's a shape-shifting
Yakapu.
Yakapu. Am I saying that right?
Yakapu. Yakapu. It's
Yeah.
Y-A-K.
Yakapu.
Yeah, Y.
Yako.
Okay. If you could say this in comment,
Yakapu.
it's Y-A-K-O-P. O. My mistake. O. So
Yakapu.
Yakapu.
Yakopu.
Yakopu. There you go. Anyways, he looks like
Kirby or
a
an egg.
Japanese version of Kirby, which, I mean, it doesn't look bad. If you get a chance, you can look it up and see for yourself. Trip World, Yakopu, whatever. But if I had this game, I would play it. I would like to see. Maybe he's Kirby's cousin. Who knows? Could be related. It is Nintendo. Number 10 is Avenging Spirit. It's
Oh my gosh.
It's a $190 game only, complete in box, $862. I'll buy it if you give it to me for $860. Can you take that $2 off?
Yeah.
I'll buy it right now. This is another known in Japan as Phantomism.
Or
Phantism.
Phantism.
I don't know.
Something like that.
Something like that. But anyways, apparently this
He's a
came out
ghost.
in 92 and it's original. It's arcade originals. Oh. So this was an arcade game. Anyways, I've never heard of this game either, but Avenging Spirit, if you've ever heard of that.
Let us know.
Yeah, that's an interesting title from what I can see on the screen. It's I don't know. Anyways,
Yeah.
we're gonna move on from that. That was number 10.
And number 9, we are now going down to the top 10 expensive games. So number 9 is F1 Pole Position, which it looks like a racing game that was for the NES.
Pole Position.
I think
I remember this game. There's actually an arcade cabinet of it that was. It's probably one of my favorite racing games to play in an arcade cabinet. One of the local gaming or arcades here. It goes by the name of Electric Starship. They have the actual cabinet where you can get in there and sit down and play. It's pretty basic. Has the gas, the
Manual.
brakes. It has we can play manual. You can. It's a great game.
So-
I don't know what the Game Boy version is, but
So game only is just $160, which is not bad. Complete in box is $625. Just make that $5 for us, and we'll probably take it.
And even in the comments, it says not to be confused with the NES game of the same name. F1 Pole Position is a racing game that was released on the Game Boy in '93. So this might not be the pole position I'm thinking. Because the pole position I was thinking is just pole position.
Oh.
This is F1 pole position.
So this might be more, I'm thinking more like an indie racing maybe?
Maybe. Or they just said, hey, let's make a racing game. There's already a game called Pole Position. Let's just add F1 to it, right? I don't know. Anyways.
That would be surprising.
But still, it from the picture I can see.
It looks like a F1 racing game.
Yeah, it looks like, for a Game Boy game,
it looks pretty good.
Pretty straight to the point, yeah. Looks like a game that would be
what is
really good to play.
Number 8.
Number 8 is Knight's Quest. Game only goes for $245.
That's
crazy.
So as we're reading the descriptions, came out released in 1992 for the Game Boy, and it is a fantasy RPG. And I really love RPG games recently. They're kind of fun.
This is more of a medieval type game because it says you are the brave character named Sir William. William of Locksley. Wait a minute. No, that's Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. Sorry, wrong one. But you're Sir William. There you go. If you were to buy this game complete in box, $650 is all you got to pay. Hey,
have fun with that.
Let me go wipe out my bank account, and here you go for this one game that I've never played.
But game only, it's only $245.
But apparently it says too, and the gameplay feels much like
Final Fantasy.
An older Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy is huge.
Yeah, if you know what the Final Fantasy games are, they're gonna remaster. I think it's either 4 or 7.
Yeah, I think PlayStation recently did their showcase and there's a Final Fantasy coming out. And
also, on a little side note too, they are making another Wolverine game. They haven't made a single Wolverine game for a while now. That was just a side note.
Mm-hmm. So that was number 8. So number 7, this is interesting.
Okay, so number 7 is a game called Jimmy Connors Tennis.
I don't even know who Jimmy Connors is.
If you want to.
Jimmy Connors, hello?
He sounds like...
Why couldn't it be Andre Agassi?
I don't follow tennis.
I don't follow tennis either, but I know the names of people.
Alright, so game only, it's only about 153, which is not bad for a tennis game. Which it is still surprising. But complete in box, if you were going to buy the full game, it is $1,000.
I'll take it.
That would probably cost me my left leg.
$1,000 for a tennis game.
Let's see.
Who is Jimmy Connors?
I actually want to look that up now.
I don't know who Jimmy Connors is. No offense to Jimmy Connors if you know him or you're a fan of him, but again, we didn't follow tennis. I don't know if Heidi's over there in the far end if you're listening to the podcast. What's great about the podcast really quick is you can listen, you can watch, you can do both, but if you're just driving down the street and you're listening, there you go. You don't have to look at the screen. You're just listening to us mumble jumbo stuff about whatever. Yeah. There you go. But that's interesting. I wonder if that's one of the more expensive sports games. I mean...
Yeah, well, besides the College 14. That's also for like...
Well, this is $1,000.
Sure.
I mean, just for the game is $153, and
just
NCAA 14 goes for like $80, $100, something like that. I mean, it's going down in value, of course, because of a newer version coming out. But that's interesting.
That's how most sports games are nowadays.
So, Jimmy Connors... apparently, I mean, still, it says rare game on the console, but still. That's interesting.
He won 8 major singles championships.
Okay.
There you go.
US Open.
So he won 8 major U.S. championships, we're being told. 5
single games, right?
5 U.S. Opens.
5 U.S. Opens. Okay, if y'all can't hear that, we're letting you know.
2 Wimbledon gentlemen's singles.
However, she just said
2
that.
Wimbledon singles titles. So, very accomplished tennis player. And again, no disrespect to Mr. Connors. I've never heard of him. Growing up, I knew of Andre Agassi, and I think that was the main one because, man, he was a cool guy. He had the look,
I never followed tennis. I was never a tennis person.
But moving on, that was the number 7 game for rare games.
Oh my gosh, I've seen this game too.
The Game Boy, and number 6 is Kid
Dracula.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, if you follow the Dracula series,
I don't know if this has anything to do with the Dracula series, but the cover art,
it looks really, it looks amazing.
It looks fun.
Obviously, as we're reading the descriptions,
this is the Japanese version, I think.
Japanese version is Kumo. I don't know how to spell it.
This is cool, and sorry, we're trying to sound as best we can.
Wait, hold up. We got our-
Kumajo Special
wait, hold up.
Bull Cool. If I'm butchering this, I apologize.
We got our.
Heidi's here.
She's our
She's
translator.
gonna stick her head in. There she is.
Hello.
See if she can translate better than we can.
Well,
I
it's
only can-
pronounced Akumajo Special Boku Dracula Kun, and it's it's a Gothic themed platform game.
Ah,
Spin-off of the Castlevania series.
okay.
Ah,
So it is a spin-off to Castlevania. Interesting.
told you.
But if you look at the artwork,
The
man,
artwork. Let's see.
the Japanese artwork on games to me is not just
It's kind of-
different from how we do here in the States, but I think it's so much colorful.
They look more colorful
Intriguing.
than most North American games.
But
in my opinion.
Kid Dracula's number 6. Game only is
$300. Now, what is complete in box?
$1,248. Now Heidi has a lot of love for the Japanese culture and the Japanese people in her heart, so maybe she'll buy this game for me.
We have recent.
But is,
yeah.
but is this compatible with the
Original though
game? Oh well, this is a Game Boy exclusive
for
release
Japan
in
and
Japan.
North
Oh, North
America.
America. Okay, so
So we can play.
it could be somewhere in the States. We just have to hunt it down. To be continued.
It probably will not be in Texas. It will probably be in another state. So coming in at number 5. That's an interesting game actually.
This is a cartoon that I really watched. This is actually a comic book that
I have
don't
read the
have,
comic
but
book
I've seen it. But this is a cartoon.
called,
Came out
and
late 80s or early 90s.
The game is called Toxic Crusaders.
Toxic Crusaders, Toxic Crusader. I don't remember the rest of the song. I just remember. Honestly, I watched a few episodes as a kid, and I was like, those guys look weird.
So this game is basically just a beat 'em up style. So think of
This
it.
is that like almost like Ninja Turtles. But these guys are like mutated form. They were like they had
I don't
toxic
know.
waste spilt on them or something. I know the theme of the show and all. And the NES game is actually really fun, but it's
I have
also
heard.
really expensive.
So it was released in the Sega Genesis and then the NES exclusive in North America in 1996. This game was based on
No,
the
92,
1991, so we're 1 year off. And it's
So-
basically just a retro game for the console. So the game only is about $375, which that's expensive just alone. But we're about to get into the more expensive games soon.
Mm-hmm.
And completed box will run you about $1,415.
So with taxes, about $1,500. But one of the interesting things from this article, it says that it was released on multiple consoles, means that it's one that is nostalgic for a lot of retro game collectors.
Taking the form of not Icponus or something like that, Crusaders. Gamers will fight off hordes of enemies approaching or appearing from
yeah.
both sides of the screen.
That's cool. So it's almost like how Double Dragon is. They come from both sides on the NES.
Or Final Fight.
Yeah, they kind of come from left or the right. But still, that's pretty cool to see that Toxic Crusaders is number 5 on the most expensive, rare games. Number
Coming in at number
4.
four is-
And what's funny is, a lot of these games are
North
Japanese versions.
Either
or-
Japanese or
released for Japan
And
and the
North America.
U.S. So a lot of these games on this list are Japanese version or
Yeah.
released here in the States as well.
So number 4 is, what is it?
The Sumo Fighter.
Pseudo
That's
Fighters.
interesting. Released in '93,
in North America.
hmm.
We are not reading that. I
but
don't know how to say
it's
that.
not what you think it is, because from what the picture shows, you're not sumo fighting.
You are fighting.
You are a
other people.
sumo fighter, and you are fighting something.
Fighting other people.
So I'm guessing it's a beat 'em up.
If it is, then it seems pretty cool.
Oh, the player controls a sumo wrestler. I'm not going to try and say his name. Who travels through ancient Japan and defeats his enemies in order to save Kaio.
So it kind of feels
So-
like a.
So you got this big sumo guy, and he's on a rampage
Interesting.
on a Game Boy game. But game only is only $200. I mean, come on, who can't get that?
And game and complete in box is.
$1,564.32.
Not 32 cents part. We're not estimating on that. Just correct.
That's the number 4 game. Oh, here's one.
Oh,
that you
wow.
didn't know,
This is
guys.
one that a lot of people
We're rounding
know.
out the top 3.
So, the Mega Man. Okay. The Mega Man. Wait, what is that? 5?
Yeah, Mega Man V.
Mega Man V for the game.
Mega Man V is 5, right? I forgot.
V is 5,
Yeah,
right?
sorry.
Okay.
brain fart.
The game came out in 1987, which originally started on the NES and was NES only exclusive. So we have picked up, I think we have picked up a
Mega Man for the NES, the original. We have Mega Man 2, 3. We almost have all of them.
Yeah. And I'm looking at it right now. Mega Man 5 is still one of the rarest Game Boy games out there. Another rare game, Mega Man game is Mega Man Soccer. We did see that, I think, when we were...
We saw it in
Oklahoma and Tulsa.
It was in box.
Yeah. And the game only is $195, which is not expensive.
It's $5 short of $200.
Yeah. And complete in box is $1,724.
And 32 cents.
It's not 32 cents.
So might as well. It ain't like it matters.
Okay.
Anyways, from what you can tell from the little picture we can see on here, it's Mega Man.
Same Mega Man that we all know and love.
And Mega Man is not a complicated, well, it's not an easy game. It's not. Mega Man 1, I've worked through. I beat one boss. I think it was Gut Man. It took me, 20 minutes to get through the stage, but still, Mega Man's a great franchise. I've always liked Mega Man. I enjoy anything Mega Man. It's a lot of fun.
And number 2.
Oh, look at that. The amazing Tater.
Tater Tot.
And it's exactly what you think it is. It looks like a tater tot.
Yeah.
It's making me hungry. I think I want some tater tots.
So this game came out in 1991 in Japan, and then in 1992 it was North America.
Yeah.
So this game for 1 year was a Japan exclusive.
Mm-hmm.
So this game, so the player controls a potato, and
A potato.
and the player needs to guide the potato through different puzzles in order.
So this is a puzzle game, and
Oh.
you're a potato. You're a potato in a puzzle.
Okay. As I'm reading on the thing,
You know, if you take tater tots and you wait till they get really old, and they, like fries, they get cold, and you mushy up the tater tot.
Yeah.
That could be a puzzle game in itself. You take a tater tot, mush it up, you got to put it back together. So, anyways,
as I'm looking on the thing real quick, this game, so the gameplay is a
vegetable themed adventure.
that you play as a tater tot
That
with a lot of L shapes and T shapes to swing around.
they should have called it. What is this game? Amazing Tater. Okay, so maybe like some stages he's a tater tot. Maybe
Yeah.
some stages he's a. And we're back.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Our battery died.
Yeah, I forgot to charge the battery completely.
So
we're talking about Tater. And
tater tots, yeah.
if multiple levels, he's a potato. He's a tater, potato. He could be a tater tot.
Or French fry.
Yeah. What? Waffle fry.
Ooh.
Waffle fry stage. He could be a spiral fry, a seasoned fry,
A curly fry.
a baked potato, a curly fry. Yeah.
Okay, you're making me hungry now.
He
Alright.
could be almost anything.
So let's talk about the game price now. So, how much is the game only?
Just a game is $1,174.
Wow.
And 32 cents.
So how about 25 cents? Okay. And complete a box?
Complete in box is just a little bit more, actually. It's only $1,782.
And 32
That's like
cents.
$1,800.
So basically, just alone, you're basically paying a lot more money
That's
than
more than a
expected
card
for a game about a tater tot.
It's a puzzle game. That's weird.
And we are here at the number 1 spot, and the number 1 game is...
Another tater tot.
No, it's not. It's called Spud's Adventure.
It might as well be a potato.
So, Spud's Adventure is the rarest and most expensive game on the Game Boy. This adventure game was released in Japan and North America in 1991 by a publisher, Atlas.
Who?
Wait, how do you say?
Oh, Atlas.
Atlas.
Yeah, they've done many good and bad games. Awesome.
The game features a cast of vegetables.
This
and
is a
player
sequel,
controls-
probably, to Amazing Tater.
Yeah.
Whatever.
The game, so the player basically controls Spud
created
and
these
Potato. So, okay, so this is probably just another version.
And is tasked with saving Princess Mato.
However, this is no Super Mario-like quest. Spud must travel through the world view and from the top and down. So, that's interesting. So, it's basically...
Caleb.
Wow.
Environments like urban brick scales, beaches, and caves with strange orbs.
They might as well add the catacombs in there, too.
To defeat foes, players must blast them with a simple potato gun.
So this has to be...
You're shooting your children if you're a potato in this game. So Spud's Adventure, and use a potato gun and you shoot your kids at the enemy.
Yeah, so...
Because it says you shoot Spuds. So
Maybe they'll make a video or a movie of that.
that would be an
That would be an
movie.
interesting movie.
Would it be an action movie? It probably would. I
Maybe
would
a
love to see
comedy.
if it was a comedy action movie. I would love to see, The Rock, Dwayne the
He
Johnson.
played Amazing Spud.
Yeah. So as price wise, game only is only $465, which still a lot, but not as much. Complete in box is basically the most expensive one that we're going to be talking about for the rest of the day. Is $2,615.42.
That's a lot of money.
That right there it tops everything. So yeah, if you ever do find Spud's Adventure at like a yard sale or anything, pick it up.
If you ever see any game that has a potato on it, buy it.
Yeah, because it
For
seems
some
like
reason
games with potatoes they are expensive.
And rare. Who came up with that concept? Huh.
Now we're gonna go on to the next list. The next list.
There's another list?
Yes,
What was it?
I talked to Heidi about this once we got off air.
Oh.
So now we're gonna talk about the most rare NES.
Most rare NES games?
Yes.
Oh, we know that already.
No, we don't actually.
Yeah, we do.
Just go with the. So we're gonna talk about the most rare NES games.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, we're gonna go off the top 19.
We're gonna do the 19 rarest games from GameRant.com. I actually read some of their articles. So this is the 19 rarest NES games ever.
And why are they so rare?
Why are they so rare? Because
They're
they
rare.
are. 'Cause they
If
only
I
made
see
10.
Ghostbusters on there, I will be.
I don't think Ghostbusters will be on there. I've seen that many, many times. So, number 19 for the NES,
Is
Stack Up. I've never played this game, but it looks like it dealt with
Rob the Robot,
Rob the Robot. And it looks like for the game only was about $170.
which we have seen Rob at a lot of.
Yeah,
local-
I almost bought Rob for a really cheap price, and I
You should've.
did not get it for that price. But for a complete in box for a Stack Up, it goes for $1,162.
So if you don't know who Rob is the most.
I would think people, if they're watching this, they
Yeah.
should know who Rob the Robot is.
If you don't, I'll give you a short description. Rob is a robot that was made for the NES for Stack Up, and I think he was made for one other game. I don't remember it, but everyone should know Rob. He's
Yeah.
amazing.
And apparently Game Rat must not like Rob the Robot, because one of the descriptions for him is chunky, slow-moving Rob the Robot, and I am offended.
I think people don't like Rob because his mechanic is a little weird.
He was made in the 80s, people.
Yeah, so you can't judge a robot by who it is,
Can't judge a robot by his gray color.
man. And coming in at number 18 is Spook or something like that.
Spoon. Spoon?
Spoon, potato.
Squoon.
How do you say that? How do you say that?
This is another crafted by Japanese studio Home Date.
Now, Magical Company.
It's a side-scroller shooter game.
It looks like an underwater game. So loose price is $183.
38.
138. Thank you. And just if it was full complete in box, it would be $1,175. Which for a game that's based on underwater theme, where it looks like you're shooting sharks, maybe
whales.
or maybe the
Looks like an underwater game.
yeah. All right, number 7.
This is one I know for sure is hard to find.
Number
And
17
why, I don't
is
understand. Donkey Kong Jr. Math,
that's crazy. Yeah, actually,
which
yeah.
I can't recall if I've seen this one at any
We
other
have, I think,
gaming
once.
events.
We
But
have seen it once, but it was a loose copy. So loose copy is $168, and complete in box is probably the most expensive price we're gonna see now. It's $3,780. Wow.
And it was a math game.
It was a math
Who knew,
game
right?
with Donkey Kong Jr.
Maybe it was so rare because people didn't really buy it. I don't know.
Most math games nowadays are actually.
But it is
pretty
Donkey
interesting.
Kong Jr. But Donkey Kong Jr. too is not like the most loved.
He's not really known. So coming in at number 16 is Cowboy Kid. Yeehaw, partner. So loose for price is $413, which is not expensive, but still really expensive. Goes off of Konami, one of our favorite NES developers. They made a lot of good games. I think they
They've
made
done Contra.
Contra, one of my favorites. They've also done a bunch of the good horror series nowadays. They've created the Silent Hill series, which was amazing. Complete in box for Cowboy Kid is $1,086. Wow.
Man.
So it's basically a bizarre American cover art, which resembles a cheesy Western B-movie more than a game. It's highly spotted, hidden detection, and rather imbalanced progress. Wow.
But yet it goes for a lot of money.
What is number 15?
Number 15. This is one I actually played on. I have a
The NES thing for the.
I have the Game Boy that's preloaded with games. I forget what it's called, but
Yeah.
we did a video on it. Mighty Final Fight. This is actually a really fun game. If you've ever played Final Fight, just think Mini.
Yeah.
But that's what it is. Mighty Final Fight. It's $260 for just the game and $872 complete box.
We gotta cheat because we have a little Game Boy thing.
So anything Final Fight is a great game. But anyways, that one is at number 15.
And number 14 is Wacky Races. Loose price is $3.95, which is PlayStation ROM from 2000. This NES game was by at loss, I guess. It is a platformer rather than a driving game. So if it's a complete in box, it's $870, which is still a lot of money at today's standard. So yeah, I guess Wacky Racer is probably. I think
it's based off of
the cartoon. Maybe I was getting.
The cartoon characters were racing each other, and every episode it was a different winner, and they built a story around every episode.
Yeah, and what is number 13?
Number 13 is Power Blade 2, which is one we don't have. We have Power Blade 1, but Power Blade 2 is an expensive game, so it's at 13. And for that price, it feels like it should be higher, but
I'm thinking too much of Blade. If you've seen is it Marvel, right? Yeah.
So the game alone is $762. CIB is $1,975.
Wow, that is expensive. And number 12 is Zombie Nation. So Zombie Nation looks like
Zombie Nation's a good game.
Which is a distant dystopian future of 1999. Aliens has crashed on Earth, by way of meteor. So the loose for just the game is $455, and completed box is $1,125. Wow.
Yeah.
What is number?
Number 11. One of my favorite games, and me and Heidi. Well, one of my favorite games. Bubble Bobble Part 2. I've never played Part 2. I played Part 1. Part 2 is too expensive. Part 2 loose is $400. And complete box $985. Bubble Bobble is an amazing, amazing game.
Yep. Number 10. Wow. It is the Flintstones Surprise at Dinosaur Peak. So, loose for this game is $1,632, which if you have seen the Flintstones, the TV show or the cartoon, very, very good. And the complete in box is $3,250. Wow.
So the picture we see almost looks like a map like from Mario 3 or 2 or whatever.
It's also, if you know, is it Hanna-Barbera?
Hanna-Barbera cartoon.
They made Scooby-Doo.
They made Flintstones.
Yep. What is number 9?
Oh, number 9, TMNT Tournament Fighters. That's a really fun game. I think I have that. I think we have that. Anyways, it goes for $225 loose and $1,158 new.
What is the next one? Number 8, the one and only Snow Brothers. Snow Brothers is a converted arcade game, which is basically, I guess what I'm thinking of too much is probably like snow type of theme. But loose is $272, and complete in box is $990, which is pretty good for a price like that for a game about Snow Brothers. So yeah, what is number 7? Number 7
is Bonk's Adventure.
We have seen Bonk's Adventure.
We've seen Bonk's Adventure a couple times. I played it outside of the actual the cartridge, but it is a go-to game. Many people know this game. Many people know this game is expensive. So loose $765, CIB $1,820 for a Bonk's Adventure, which is only at number 7.
Number 6 is Panic Restaurant.
That's another good one.
Yes. Loose for itself is $917, and CBI, which is basically complete in the box, is $2,100. Which wow.
Which is a really good game, and you gotta have the money to buy it. So.
Yeah. What is
number 5, Little Samson, another game that many people know about. This is really crazy at number 5 because it goes for $2,257 loose, at least as of this release, and new in box $4,100,
which is now breaking the record.
That is insane. Now, of course, prices go up and down, so
yeah. Number 4, oh wow, number 4, Cheetah Man 2. I actually have never seen a single copy of this.
Cheetah Man 2. I've seen it once. It was in the glass case at a convention.
How much was it?
I don't know. I didn't ask because I knew it was expensive.
Loose price alone is $1,835. complete in box is $3,585.
And Cheetah Man basically was a TMNT knockoff. They were just looking for something else to capitalize on. And
But
they
it's not
figured
really good.
4 cheetahs compared to 4 turtles, which the game's expensive, but that's about it.
And number 3.
Stadium events.
Oh my gosh.
Of course, stadium events.
It's going to be on here.
It's crazy. At number 3, loose, $19,423.
And
Complete in box. Which
and
is
to
crazy.
break the record for the most expensive game we're probably going to see is...
$55,000.
That alone is expensive.
That was from whenever this was released, but that's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think it has gone for about that much.
And number 2, Nintendo World Champions.
Oh yeah, the Nintendo World Championship games.
It is loose for price if you have no.
If you have it.
Yeah, if you have it, you're probably really interesting to own. Loose for price is $22,680, which is expensive enough, and it somehow went down in price to loose price. If it's the gold version, is $18,950, which is really surprising because it goes up for loose, but then goes down if it's gold.
And this is a game that's if you have it, it's because you won it at the competitions or you bought it.
Or you
That's
kept it.
basically it. I mean,
Yeah.
they're super rare.
And coming in at number 1.
The Nintendo Campus Challenge. I have never heard of the
We've,
Nintendo Campus
I
Challenge.
don't think a lot of people have heard this.
1991 edition.
17,100.
So it has a price range from 17,100 to 29,200. So that's very interesting. Similar to the Nintendo World Championships, this strange cart was made for the singular purpose of playing segments
Wow.
of Nintendo games. Huh. So I think they were used during the championship game tournaments they had in the early 90s. So that's interesting. So that's what we got for this episode of the podcast. We thank you for listening and joining us. And the battery's dying on our camera.
So we have to hurry. That's why we went a little fast, so we didn't give a lot of description of most of the games. But yes, you will catch me and my pops.
We'll see you on
Probably do
the
another one.
next episode of the podcast, coming really soon.
Yep.
And maybe we'll figure out and go over some more rare games or hard to find games. Maybe we'll look at the PS4 games or PS5. Are there rare, hard to find games for the PS5 right now? We'll find out.
We'll go over Dad's top 10 favorite Nintendo 64 games.
Yeah, and some more fun news in gaming world and whatever else we can think of. Retro movies and all that other jazz. Thanks for listening or watching. Hopefully you're listening. And if you're listening, we thank you for listening. If you're watching and listening, hopefully you are watching and listening. But whichever one you're doing, thanks for watching. Join the Funhouse, Retro Funhouse. We'll see you next time, or you'll hear us next time on the unedited podcast of Funhouse Podcast. Till next time,
Peace.